with the
Post
mostest.
us with it to the chat box. That would be great. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. Can we start?
Yes, I was just going to give a brief introduction. Obviously, Andrea Littlewood hardly needs an introduction because she is known to everybody who teaches primary and young learners. She's currently teaching at International House in Madrid, where she's worked for a very long time, and she's also published some materials. You can get in touch with Andrea because she's very open to
Absolutely.
to answering any of your questions later.
I'm looking at your I'm looking at your I'm looking at all your comments now. Okay.
Exactly.
Oh, somebody can't see or hear anything. Oh,
who's that?
Well, listen.
Who's that?
Okay. Shall we? Okay.
It might just be because of their device. I think we should just carry on as we are. I'm really sorry for that person, but you can watch the recording hopefully.
Absolutely, and please get in touch with me if anything's not clear. Now
maybe you could still go. You've still got time to jump in another room. Maybe if you
if we're just going, if most people can hear or see me, that would be fine.
I think that's what we have to go with.
Okay. Well, listen, lovely to be here. Thank you so much for coming. This is the blur that you saw when you decided to come to this talk. And it's all about thinking, reflecting, sharing experiences and enjoying the idea of increased communication through vocabulary learning. So if we can have a look, why have I decided to do a word power session? Well, these are the answers. I was really inspired from the title of the conference, Adjusting the Sails, because it means I've got time to rethink about me in the classroom and vocabulary teaching and the children learning. I also love the way children acquire vocabulary and how this has an effect on their motivation. I want to see how children want to understand and use vocabulary, and I'm also very aware about the amount of English that children are exposed to be through CLIL, learning through English in their content, in their classrooms, in the normal school classroom with the bilingual projects, and see how has this an effect on the way we teach. Right, and what have I noticed recently? Okay, well, I've noticed that, because I insist on it, that children do say my name correctly. So Andrea, and there's the beat there, very strange. It's a mother who was German, yeah? I've also noticed that the children themselves are using quite sophisticated language. This is actually pre-primary, as I heard a child in her own language saying, "Estoy esperando los resultados de mi PCR." Yeah, so I'm waiting for the results of my PCR, very mature. And also I've noticed little things about the way children react to language I've used. The other day in class, I said, "Stop," and they said, "Play." Which means the kind of language for gaming rather than stop or start. I thought it was quite interesting there. Okay, let's continue. So my focus is on how we can give them power through thinking about the vocabulary and building on the vocabulary too. So these are the key words I want to focus on. Okay, now we want our children to be able to think, we can say it, we can read it, we can spell it, we can use it, we can write it. But vocabulary is so much more. So if you can think of another way of saying we can, how would you like to finish the sentence? Focusing on a new vocabulary item, for example. How would you say? We can, for example, use it in the correct context. Register. Anything else? Have we got any ideas on the chat box?
Some people are saying create. Oh, it's going so fast for so many people.
Yeah, for some reason I couldn't see that. I think it's at the very top. Let's have a look. We can own it. Yeah, I was looking at the wrong end. Thank you. Learn it. Do it. Thank you. Okay. So
play with it. I like that.
There is definitely a nautical theme, a sailing theme to my seminar. Now, and I thought this is a topic that I do not know much about. So I started to look, and this is the typical Shutterstock view on Google. And I thought, my goodness, where do I start? how am I going to start with this selection of vocabulary? Okay, we need to consider their knowledge, their interest, and also their needs, and they may be quite difficult. And thank goodness our course books help with the selection. Okay, and to start with this nautical theme, I'd like you to do me a favor. Now, some of you may be able to see me, and I apologize if I don't, but I'd like you to take a piece of paper and draw a basic outline of a ship, a boat. Those of you can see that I've drawn the very simple outline of a sailing ship. Okay? Got it? Those of you can see me, fantastic. Now, this is when I'd like you to answer some of my questions. Ready? I'm going to give you some definitions of part of this ship. And I'd like you to draw and label what I say. If you can't label it, don't worry. Imagine if you're Spanish, you could write that word in Spanish, and we'll look at that later. So, for example, let's have a look. How about, can you please draw on your picture the most important person on the ship? Okay, have you got it? Can you draw on your picture the people who work together on the ship? You all drawing? Great, let me see. Okay, can you draw the place where the people sleep on the ship? You might need to draw the little window to show where they sleep. How about, this is more difficult now, perhaps the place outside where the people stand and walk? And finally, a typical bird you can see at sea. So something in your picture at the top. Now then, have a look at your picture. Those of you can see the camera, you might have something like this. Have you noticed I've actually drawn a female captain? Yeah, so not just the normal stereotypes there. So because I felt competent, I'm the teacher, but I've written the words correctly. So I've got the captain, I've got the crew, I've got the cabin. You'll see I've actually included a few more, and there's a reason why for that. Okay, now then, so I asked with a group, and this was actually a friend who taught the lesson for me. She had an A2 group of 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds, and I was keen to see what the children could recognize. And of course, they all enjoyed the drawing. When it came to actually drawing, I was a bit too adventurous, and I included these 9 different definitions. The children themselves, okay, were able to draw a captain, and most of them wrote Capitan. They drew people, the crew, and they also drew a cabin, the people, because they understood the word sleep. They may not have known the word deck, but could understand there was a place outside. And most of them drew multiple seagulls. And then I did ask a few more, like the hull. Wow, that was a word I had to learn. An anchor. And then starboard and port. Now, these are words I definitely had to look up myself. And what I'm going to show you is a little, these are the words that we then looked at and see if we could put and label together, or more difficult ones. So we could cross out a bit of their Spanish if they weren't too sure and add the English. Okay, the reason I did this was because I wanted the children to be able to reflect on the vocabulary they'd focused on in class. And this is, for example, it's very difficult to see, but more than anything, it's to show you that it was done in class. But basically, we looked at the words that I'd focused on, and then I noticed that they'd actually written in Spanish a lot more words that they wanted to learn. So they had a better understanding of nautical sailing vocabulary than I did. Can you see in green? They wanted to know about wheel and stern and cannon and mast, and these are things that I certainly weren't too sure about myself. And even treasure, and they even labeled words on the picture, things that they knew already, which was sea and sails. And then I thought, okay, let's take this little experiment a bit further. Here's another child who drew a picture, and I could see from this picture that even when she recorded some of the words, she'd put deck was camarote, which is actually a cabin. So, you know, this makes me think. Okay, I have 9 different questions I asked the children. And can you see the 3 colors? Black, purple, and green. So these are 3 children, examples of 3 children's responses to the words that they focused on in this part of the lesson. Can you just have a look and see, was anything that you particularly like about their replies? If you want to add your information in the chat box, I can see that. I'll give a little bit of time to read it. Was there anything particular that you liked or that you notice about their answers? I'll get the board rolling. Let me see. For example, they all had different answers for their to the questions. What was the most difficult to say? The shorted words, even that was different. And the question that I liked best, and the answers to the question I liked best, was which word do you like best? They focused on words that they wanted: cabin, or bow. Because I saw Titanic and Rose and Jack got there. Lots of personal responses to vocabulary. Because I sleep, because it's similar in Spanish. So the idea of communication was really, so we're speaking about the vocabulary that they're learning and not just focusing on the vocabulary itself. And have you noticed, what do you think is going to be useful to you? Bow, see, is a word they already know. And capitan, it's very difficult for them to see that actually it's a bit different in English, captain. So what did this tell me about the language learning? They actually knew more about sailing than I did, and they wanted more words. Some of the words are similar in Spanish, but that's when they get a bit lazy or don't notice enough. So I obviously need to help them to notice. Captain, capitan. There were different responses to what they found was funny or liked. And they definitely do need more work and my guidance to work on recording vocabulary. And I can see that by doing this, I'm actually asking or encouraging the children to communicate more in class with the definitions and their views and opinions. And I could use this checklist more. So this is more a reminder for myself. And then I asked them, how can you remember the new vocabulary you want to learn? And they said, well, when I'm thinking about, or you know, when I look at this checklist or study at home. And then the children, you know, actually answered in Spanish, viéndolo, estudiándomelo, which means, can you see, estudiándomelo? They also need a bit of help with their own language, which is normal at this age. So 9 and 10-year-olds. Okay, can we keep going? Can you, if we can keep going, can you write yes, please, in the chat box? Then I know that you're there. I know that you're still there. Oops, let me see. Let me see all your comments. It's refreshing. Okay, I can see. Yes, please. Good. Let me continue. Okay, so let's start after that little experiment, which got me thinking and reflecting. Let's start with some of the younger learners. Now, this is Patricia, and she's going to start the section of the session called Setting Sail with 6-year-olds. That's quite difficult to say, actually, setting sail with 6-year-olds. Okay, what do I mean by this? Okay, first of all, it's important for them to think, well, what's a word? If you think of the Cambridge Younger Learner tests and all the vocabulary categories, names come up as a category themselves. So it's important that we give importance to names, not just my name, Andrea, but their own name. So I thought, aha, this is Patricia. She said, no, Patri. Okay, I'm learning. Alejandra. So we're looking at the stress, and Spanish children are very good at beating the stress in their own language with new vocabulary. Ignacio, Jesus. Okay, so they've got my name correct, and I've also worked to make sure that I say their names correctly, which is important. So names can be words too. Okay, now when they come from infants, they're used to lots of action words like walk and run, and I like adding things like, you know, tiptoe and a few extra words you don't normally find in course books. And then I thought, okay, they love saying, can I go to the toilet, please? Or can I have a rubber, please? So let's just use those simple words to expand on more communication. So we get them coming into class by saying, can I jump to class today, Andrea? Yes, great idea, Jaime. Can I hop to class today? Of course, Juana. Could you just quickly in the chat box tell me how you would like to come into my class today? So can you write, can I? And let's see what action you would use. Let me see, have we got any replies there? Let me see. I can't see anybody. Any replies there? How would... Oh, I can't hear anybody. Can everybody hear
Sorry.
me?
My fault. I was muted.
Okay.
Alex says, can I come in singing?
Oh,
Maria
that's
Begonia.
nice. Can I? Lovely. Absolutely.
Leanne says, swim, fly.
Actually, that's a good one. They do say that.
Swim and sing, they get mixed up, don't they, sometimes?
But it's
and
nice
Borja
because
says
they
swim too.
Yeah, wonderful. And the more
Lot of
creative,
repetition.
the more creative, the better. So, and then I thought, well, hang on a minute. I want them to see that words can change. So, you know, we know look and listen. That's part of especially your infants learning. But let's get them listening to other forms of the word before it comes up formally as a present continuous. So in my routines, I often say, I'm happy with Luis because he's looking and listening. So obviously, if it's Juana, I'm happy with Juana because she's looking and listening. I'm happy with Karen today because she's looking and listening. Yeah. Okay. So they're exposed to other forms of the word before it's kind of formal in their course book. Okay. Also, I love the idea of using their names and familiar words. In this case, it's a name, sorry, with little chants. So let's just, you don't have to sing along, but I often start with saying, mystery name, mystery name. Who is it? Boom, boom. Who is it? Boom, boom. P, bam, bam, bam. A, bam, bam, bam. And we spell out, and they like to be part of the routine and realizing they are the mystery person. However, I did realize that some children, for example, come from a phonemic spelling vocabulary. I'm sorry, system, I'm a 60s baby, and I learned my ABCs as abacadabra. And my sister went, what? She's younger, and she said, it's ABC. So I realized that, for example, thinking that children are going to be quite familiar with the ABC is not always the case. So with some children, I start with just simple colors so they can look at the order. And if we have for example, online, if we don't have it full screen, we have the ability to move around quite easily our little color squares. So Patricia would be blue. What's the next color? A. Then we spell orange. So it's blue, white, orange, green, black. Can I spell it? That's kind of a reddy brown and purple. Ta-da! Okay, so they're still going over the colors at the beginning of primary, but they're all using those colors to put the letters in order before we work on a bit more on the names of those letters in English. Okay. I've been doing a lot of work with the children holding a letter and putting themselves in order. That's not new. But at the same time, I've used those pieces of paper, put them on the floor and used them as though they were flashcards. So I'd turn over, for example, E, because vowel sounds are difficult to use the name of the letter. And what's missing? E. Then I turn over, for example, the R. What's missing? R. So using them as a typical flashcard game gives us a bit more mileage too. And then it's always nice to focus on not only mystery names, obviously, but mystery words. Mystery words. What is it? What is it? It's got 3 letters. The first letter is H. Can anybody think? Can anybody think? The third letter is T. So what's the word, everybody, in the chat box? Bit obvious, but it is. It hasn't refreshed. Let's have a look. Hat. Oh my goodness, Borja, I can see you now. There you go. Okay, and can you see what I'm doing? I'm discreetly adding ordinals because it's not just a matter of using the ordinals in the day, the date at the beginning of the lesson, but also using it so that later they're a bit more accustomed to hearing that. Okay, can you see what I've got here? We give our children computers and keyboards made of cardboard. Okay, the children are actually typing out and saying the letters. They might have some support, as you can see on the floor there, so that they're playing it together at writing a word that their partner can recognize. These children, by the way, are in the same school bubble and back in the classrooms, and they're allowed to be at a certain distance, a bit closer than perhaps you might imagine. Okay, that was checked by the school. Okay, so using our little keyboards, and it's nice to see the alphabet in a different order, because these are skills that the children need to focus on. Where's that letter on a keyboard? Okay, so okay, I'm going to play again. Let's get a little bit of cultural awareness into our classrooms, a little chant. Let's play. Ready? Can you see the different vocabulary on the school floor, on the classroom floor? Quickly, with the answer in the chat box. I spy with my little eye a word beginning with C. Let's have a look. Have you got it? Have you got it? Can I see it? Is my chat box refreshing?
Coat.
We got it. Coat. Thank you. We got
Computer.
coat. Thank you. Okay,
Computer.
so you found coat down here on the floor. Okay, so if you can see my slides, they were actually using the words on the school floor, and it was coat, perhaps, yeah? But it's nice to say, I spy with my little eye a word ending with. So if we have ending with T, then they have to ask, this is more communication about vocabulary, they have to ask, is it skirt? Is it shirt? Is there something else beginning with T? Is it coat? You see, so they have to ask more about the vocabulary. Oh, that looks like a scary eye. That's actually my eye. That's a bit off-putting. Okay, so let's keep going. So we've looked at setting sail with 6-year-olds. I can just about say that. Let's look at another category, assigning roles, captains and crew. Now, if those of you can see the camera, I have a little kind of lollipop stick with something I use a lot, which says captain, because it's nice to go back to assigning roles in group work. We've got captains and crew, and we all need to work together. So this is the red group. Okay, now, here we have 3 such basic activities, but just because children want to sit in front of the class in the teacher's seat, and these are just so we can see how a basic word like, in this case, kitten or cat, can involve the other children too in extra language. So in this case, round 1, ding, ding. The first child sits in the teacher's room. She picks up a pet flashcard. She says, spotlight on her, I've got a kitten. And now the group says, now it's your turn, Ignacio. So what we're doing really is picking up a flashcard, which is a basic word, expanding it into a sentence and getting the children to say, it's your turn. So we're working together. Round 2, how is this different? Just read. As you can see, now the emphasis is on the children themselves speaking about the person in the teacher's seat. Okay, so the spotlight is off the person, and that just comes from using the flashcard of one single item of vocabulary. But they're still involved. Now it's your turn, Louise. Round 3. How does this differ? Okay, so now we have to mix up those different flashcards from different categories from previous units in our course book. The children take it in turns, are going to sit in the captain's seat, the teacher's chair, pick up a flashcard, and then they may have to focus carefully on a different structure there. And this is when the crew can help a little bit with, I've got, or I'm wearing, or I can, depending on what they've related that flashcard to in the previous units of their course book and the structure they've focused on. Okay, so again, the captain and the crew work together to revise the vocabulary in this way. Okay. And also, captains do have responsibilities now. It's not only the teacher who reveals the card, but at the end of one lesson, they could prepare the secret words for the next lesson, and then slowly reveal the words as they've seen the teacher do, from this little makeshift envelope made of cardboard, and they slowly reveal. Again, they're in the captain's seat. They're responsible for doing and being active in the revision exercise. So this word is obviously trousers. Okay. Now then, captains and crews, well, they need to work together. And this is what I want them to think about the vocabulary. Now, if you just have a look at this a little bit, you might think it seems like a very typical exercise from our younger learners tests, or even from our first certificate tests. Basically, we have to think of a word to fill that space. Just have a look at it a moment and start thinking what they may be. For example, on Saturday, I had a, what do you think number one would be? Then I'd leave you for a minute to think for the rest. Number one could be anything in the chat box?
Big, great,
Absolutely.
marvelous,
yeah,
nice, huge.
Okay. Just
delicious.
read the rest. As typical, teachers, we know that we have to read the whole text. Just have a read that. Just read it for a second. Okay, have you got some thoughts? Okay, this is when the children would obviously be working together. And so I'm looking at refreshing this. They're working together and thinking, and we're using language to help them think about the vocabulary. We think number one is, so off goes the captain. Those of you can see my camera with, they go with their little color for their group and go to the next group, and they therefore reassemble and decide what their groups thought was the correct answer for each number. This is one group. Can you see? He said excellent. Okay, bit of a spelling mistake there, but excellent's good to describe the breakfast. We have sunny, okay, and hot. Okay, definitely we have the words. With my sister, okay, they understood that word in context. Oh, can you see there? Why can't it be a skateboard? Okay, can't be a skateboard because how many? It's got two big wheels, so it must be a bike. Yeah, okay. And can you see they got the rest? I played a new game and my dad told me to stop. Okay, so this is when they're coming together and we're making sure that they really do engage in feedback together. So that's the captains and the crew working together. Okay, and those are a clearer idea of the answers on the orange paper. Okay. So we've had onto the third category now, means full speed ahead. So I'm thinking, great, I've got a lovely group here. Let me think of my first year primary group. I think I can change and add a bit more. So I think, aha, I'm going to do a bit more about months of the year. It doesn't come up in my book, but I'm going to focus on it. Full speed ahead, another vocabulary group. Not quite. Karen doesn't know when her birthday is, not just in English, but in Spanish. And her friends are surprised, pero Karen, when's your tu cumpleaños? And she feels bad. Okay, this is when I need to kind of slow it down. Okay, so, there are lots of ways of supporting children. And this was simply going to Google and looking at months of the year, a nice little activity here where we can stage and help the children by putting the numbers next to this corresponding month. So January number 1, number 2, number 3. Some children can recognize those names and they will learn their own birthday month more quickly than the rest. And we write down the birthdays on that space. Now, later on, Karen did realize it was her birthday in November and she shared no, that was February, sorry. And it was nice to see that she was more confident then. Okay. And also, this is something I didn't do, but just to help them realize, we're lucky that with Spanish, if you are a Spanish, working in a Spanish classroom, we have a lot of similar beginnings. So it's nice to help the children to notice this. Oh, look, that's the same. Let's do some detective work. Oh, that's a little bit different. That can help us. Definitely enero, January. Now that sounds different. And isn't it nice when we have other children from you use other languages at home? So what's the month in your language? Juillet. said little Eloise the other day in my class. So it's nice to get them speaking about their own languages too. It's not just Spanish. Okay, so here we have some great language, months of the year, days of the week, and they have this as a bit of a reference there that they can play with. But isn't it good to be able to use the head words a bit more? You may have been in the situation when you say, what's your favorite food? And they say, what's food? Okay, food. And you think, oh, I haven't focused on the head word, the key word. So it's nice to go into thinking about house words, pet words, or clothes words. Use the key, the name of that category. And often, if we have a pile of our flashcards, we can use this opportunity for more communication with a little chant. So we've got abracadabra, 1, 2, 3, turn over the card, what can you see? Then they say clothes, and what is it? Trousers. So we encourage them to say the head word first. And the abracadabra, 1, 2, 3, turn over the card, what can you see? Gets them all involved too. And this goes back to an old favorite. Sorry, but I'm very much a chanting person in my classes. The word favorite can be a bit off-putting. So I often say favorite in terms of what you see, the words that we've done today. So they don't say, I don't know what my favorite pet, I can't say the word. But let's say, I often use, what's your favorite? What's your favorite? What's your favorite pet? What's your favorite? What's your favorite? What's your favorite pet? Or room or color. So using these wonderful words, color, day, season, or game, these are the language areas or the vocab categories we've used recently over the term. So this kind of practice with a chant also makes it a bit more memorable and adds a bit more real communication in the classroom. And it gives them a chance to say favorite correctly too. It's a difficult word to say. Okay. Now then, if I had to think of full speed ahead is only really possible even if our notebooks make sense. Do you remember at the beginning with the vocabulary about sailing? One child had camarote, cabin, meaning deck, cubierto. So it was like, ooh, that's not going to be very helpful. So this is at a higher level, but have a look at these 3 pictures. I asked the children to create a meaningful definition only by using the little drawings. This is not new, but at least it gets them time to think. What I'd like you to say in the chat box, which of those drawings do you think is the clearest definition? Because some of the concepts, stepbrother, are quite difficult. What do you think would be the clearest definition to you? Anything in the chat box? Might probably say skyscraper there. Let me see. Anybody? Does anybody like the stepbrother? Is that clear enough to you?
It's strange. We have all very different opinions.
Oh, nice.
Some people say the first one, the skyscraper, mother-in-law.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I can't see that at the moment on my chat box. That's great. Thank you, Karen. Now, it's good, isn't it? Because it means that the children themselves will be able to focus and learn more quickly because their notes are clearer. And that was clearer to them because they then explained the meaning. And I knew that they'd got the meaning correctly because they explained with their definitions and their pictures to each other. Again, encouraging more communication through learning vocabulary. Okay, there's another one here, paying the fine. Can you see the policeman? Perhaps he's gone through stop, can you see? And the idea of get on well. So we've got blah, 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 blah. If you like somebody and you chat to them, you obviously get on well with them. Okay. So, and then, you know, the whole idea of how you help them to focus on words and antonyms, opposites. So, for example, even with a chant, we could say, I say old, you say new. I say tiny, you say enormous. I say freezing, you say boiling. And as you can see here, even with my little primary or younger primary children, I'm encouraging these more extreme adjectives here, not just warm and hot and cold, etc. Freezing and boiling, because it brings more variety to the classroom, and it's what they would like to say in many cases. Okay. Okay, so we're still on the idea of helping the children make quicker progress by going back, stopping and thinking and reflecting on what they do. So this is something I did with some of my children actually last week. So I added this slide late. Can you see? They're working on categories of pets, and actually that was green. It's a very light green used by Alejandra. We've got house words in blue, games, different types of games in yellow, seasons in brown, and clothes in kind of a pinky. She chose pink rather than red. Those of you can see, this is another one from another child. But what they did was just enjoy the fact that they could find those words and categorize them by color. And that made it more appealing to them. And then I could hear them as crews working together. Oh, coat, 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 red, 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 you know. And they were helping each other find these words. And if possible, even add to them. These are some extra words that were in the course book, and we had to say, you know, what color would we, how would we color code these? Insects are what some of the animals eat, and the cooker, clock, etc. were words from the house vocabulary. This is all from New Tiger 2, an excellent book that we use. Thank you, Carol Reed. Okay. Oh, and very important. Can you see? I made a mistake. I left a blank. Now, this is when great opportunities occur. You think, oh my goodness, there's a blank, and the children notice. So you say, aha, remember the checklist at the beginning of the session? Write in your favorite word. And so can you see Alejandra's was fish? And this is actually from Juana, and hers was puppy. So they all have a chance to personalize their learning too. Okay, and they shared their favorite words from the category. Okay, this is the fourth section of the session, and we're thinking of the captain's log, which means me as a teacher and the children as the crew, we're all taking notes of our learning and vocabulary. Now then, if you go to a typical group of words to do with clothes, we probably can imagine which words they're going to find difficult. Let's say, which words are they going to find difficult? I mean, this is a Spanish classroom, speaking classroom. Oh, which of those words do you think they would find difficult to pronounce? Can you add that to the chat box? Let's see. Any answers there? Let's have a look. Did anybody actually say, Karen, like shirt or skirt? Oops, I can't hear you, sorry. So that's...
Sorry, my fault. I'm multitasking. Jumper, trousers,
True.
shirt,
Absolutely.
Skirt.
They're lots difficult to pronounce.
T-shirt.
Absolutely.
Coat.
And also they're difficult in spelling, shirt and skirt, not just in pronunciation. So we're already having a bit of an idea, perhaps from previous classes, on what might be difficult for them to say, to spell, and to distinguish. Sometimes with the masks, it's difficult to hear between shirt and skirt. Definitely back in the classroom, we've all got masks on now. And then I just thought, hang on a minute, spelling is tough. Let's go back to some, we spoke a little bit about noticing, and me as a captain and them as the crew, and often captains too, I gave them the chance to spell things that they'd never seen before. I mean, they'd seen the word for instruments, because we pretend to play instruments at the beginning of the class with our songs, but I gave them the chance to, on the mini whiteboards, to decide what words they, well, how they thought they could spell it. Can you guess what this word is? What musical instrument? Can you see? Yeah, you probably got it there. Violin? Okay.
Yes,
yeah, violin. I can see you now. Wonderful. Yeah. And how about these ones? Can you see? Trompe, trumpet. So the idea is they could, I mean, I've got a mask on in class, but they also didn't hear the T, which I was trying to enunciate. But they're nearly there. Yeah. So it was the fact that we were looking at words like guitar. It's like, wow, this is fantastic. You haven't seen the word and you've nearly got it. So let's look at the word. All we have to do is to change it and add a U. So they were quite motivated by that as well. You know, you haven't even seen the word and yet you're on the right track. And this is when the day I lost my voice recently, which most people said, thank goodness. Yeah, oof, a bit of quiet time. Andrea stopped speaking. This is when I thought, listen, I want to see how independent my children can be. I told them I'd lost my voice. Well, I whispered I lost my voice. And I put all the vocabulary from the last 3 units on the floor. and I gave them this photocopy, which meant, let's imagine this is me with your name and age, and in my picture, so they obviously drew the picture first, I'm wearing, and I'm in, meaning which part of the house they're in, and what I've got, which animal they had as a pet. So they could imagine. And it was all to do with the words that we'd looked at. So they simply got up, looked at the word, checked their spelling, and did this all by themselves. And then they presented it to me. They came up, did some shared reading, and I thought, hey, that's nice. They were out of their seats, coming, looking at the floor, going back, checking their spelling. And I was specifically pleased with one little boy who'd had a lot of kind of problems with wanting to pick up a pen or pencil rather and write anything. And the fact he could do this by himself was a wonderful experience for me to see. Okay. So again, I'm noticing now, let's keep going with noticing how one word can lead to so many communicative activities. Okay, very quickly, on a piece of paper, I'd like you to write number 1 to number 7. This is a golden oldie, so I'm sure you can recognize, some of you will recognize this, this activity. Okay, number 1, can you please write down any place? It could be a place, for example, in Spain. It could be Toledo or somewhere in Asturias. I know you've come from different places. It could be New York. It could be a country, a place. Number 2, write down an animal. Have you got it? Any animal. Number 3, a type of transport. Have you got it? Now keep going. So number 4, number between 1 to 100, something to eat, a sport, and a famous person. I just actually spoke. I gave them this orally, so I didn't give them this written format here. Okay, a famous person. That can be sometimes quite difficult, and for children, they can, you know, I sometimes say, okay, a special person. That's fine, and they write the name of their best friend or a member of their family. Okay, have you all got the 7 words? Okay, any idea what we're going to do? Thinking. You're going to use these words. Do not change. You're going to use these words. Let's have a look. To fill these spaces. So can I just ask you to don't change them, because I'm going to ask you some questions. So you can use the chat box. Okay, and the questions, I've even got the questions here to make, there was no focus on making them think of the questions. I wanted to go straight into the activity. So the questions are, where did you go? Can I just see some of your variety of answers in the chat box? Do we have some good answers, Karen? Oops, can't hear you.
Africa.
Oh,
Kenya.
right. And,
the beach.
Wow. And what pet did you take?
Oh, they're still answering the first one.
Oh, lots of people there,
giraffe,
lots of places.
Goat, fish, cat, lion.
Oh, goat. Okay. Can you see? And I'm quite interested in, suddenly saw the famous person. So who did you see? Do we have any interesting people?
Beyonce.
Okay.
My best friend, Messi, of course. Okay. Justin Bieber.
Nice one.
Lady Di, Nadal.
Fantastic.
Julio Iglesias. Bisbal.
Thank you for your help there, Karen. That's great. Okay, this is one. This is from Alberto Tomas. He's called Alberto, and he went to Cantabria. Can you see? And he took his goat. So that's, as one of you wrote, goat. Travelled by. Actually, it's not train. I've got the original here. Okay, they're under here. And what I really liked, he said, and I saw Frida Kahlo. Wow, as a famous person. The reason being, I've got it here. He went by truck. That was it, because I always say lorry, and I actually remember questioning him about that. This is Alberto's here, and he used Frida Kahlo and felt quite nice about that, because his school, they actually give the school classes names of special female heroes, which I thought was quite nice. Can you see? So I gave them those questions. So they went straight into a communicative activity, lots of speaking, and simply by adding a word to a sentence, and they thought it was quite good fun. In another group, I got them to, well, they obviously mingled and decided what was the best question, sorry, the best holiday, or the best weekend rather. And the group, we got them out and made a television program where they had to pretend they were interviewing on the television program, and they added responses like really, okay. So the emphasis was with off having to create a question. They'd already got the information. They didn't have to think too much because they just had to think of an individual word. But this activity with just one item of vocabulary gave us a lot of mileage. Okay. Now then, changing direction is another category we're going to have a look at, because we need to keep thinking of different contexts to keep that vocabulary going and to show that we've assimilated it well and can use it correctly. Okay, so can you see what we've done here? We've been doing about clothes, but what have my class made here? Can you see? Okay. Okay, we've made a little shop. Now, can you see there? How much are the trousers? Is that a bargain at 21 euros? So they thought we thought of prices. They didn't color it this time. They wanted to stick it. And there's Ignacio's shop and there's Juana's shop. And what we're doing is using familiar language like can I go to the toilet, please? But can I help you? Which is something I encourage as well for helping each other as crews in the classroom. And here you are. That's something we use in the class as well. Here's a piece of paper. Here you are. Thank you. So the only new thing was how much is it? Yeah. And so by using the basic vocabulary, we'd also got a little dialogue about shopping. Okay. Okay. And here they are working together. Here the boys, Jaime and Luis, stuck them quite together. And when they bought something, they folded the page down like a game, which I thought was quite nice. Okay. Again, we're looking at changing direction. Sometimes we need to think about how to use them. So some words can be used just, I'm wearing a t-shirt, but can you see the magic S? I'm wearing trousers, not a trousers. So we can jump to the correct part of the classroom. So if obviously I'm wearing boots, if I say boots, you're going to jump to the no a box in the classroom. Okay. Also, the influence of being online with classes on Zoom and then going back, in my case, to classroom meant that I want that kind of backdrop creativity to continue in my own classrooms. So sometimes there's a bit of a change during the hour. They might say, Andrea, can I go to space, please? They might have used a space backdrop in their Zoom classes a few months ago. Can I go to the beach, please? So I've got theme park, I've got space, I've got different pictures, and they come up and say, I want a bit of a change. So we try and imagine. Okay. Again, we have our pictures here of, can I play the recorder, please, when it comes to singing a song? So we sing it with the instrument of their choice. Okay. So what we're going to do as a final thought is a final category, which is casting anchors. And can you see I've got a question mark in this thematic session of with a nautical theme? I'm not going to cast an anchor because my language, my learning, thanks to my children, never stops as a teacher. What I am going to continue is think about how I continuously need to make readjustments and reset my sails, rethink about my classes, give the children an opportunity to think about their learning and vocabulary too. What I've done recently, I've had the chance to be a fly on the wall in some gaming sessions we've done with young children. I don't know how to play Among Us. If anybody knows how to play Among Us or have got children who do know how to play that as a game, just like yes in the chat box. But it's basically a lovely online game where the children have to decide who's the imposter and who kills who. Does anybody play that? So does anybody play that?
Yeah, Maria Begonia Garcia says yes.
Great. So I was a fly on the wall, just listening to what the children were using and the vocabulary, saying, oh, he sabotaged this. It's impossible. You killed so-and-so. And, you know, this is a new kind of area for me to see how you children use their language in a gaming. I'm not a gamer in a gaming context. So I'm constantly learning, listening to what language the children come out with. And I just want to finish this session with getting you to think of your own metaphors, what lies ahead. There will be story, weather, but with hopefully we have ideas to deal with it. I sometimes use too much in my classroom. I need to kind of think again about the number of vocabulary items I expect my children to deal with in a class. There will be beautiful blue skies on your voyage and your journey when you can watch them learn together. And there will be new crews, new groups. No groups are the same. So notice what they focus on, want and need. And as a final note, so we have a little moment to ask questions if you like. I'd like you to look at this very well-known little chant. Does anybody recognize it? Yeah, if you do, thumbs up or yes in the chat box.
Yes.
Yes.
People are saying yes.
Okay.
Used to sing as a child.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, I used this the other day because I love using this as a lead into homophones and C and C, and to get them thinking about their own language and how some words are spelt differently, have different meanings, but have the same pronunciation. So what I'd like to do is just listen. We're going to start with a bit of a song. We did it as a clapping song. The children had cleaned their hands before and after. So we, in groups, we went, a sailor went to sea, to see what he could see, but all that he could see, was the bottom of the deep blue sea. And then we changed again and changed pairs again, kept clapping, and they got more and more confident. And then I suddenly thought, what do you think the sailor thinks about the bottom of the deep blue sea? Is he happy or not? In the chat box, was he happy about all that he could see? What do you think? Was it a happy song? I mean, he doesn't seem to be that satisfied. What do you mean all he could see was the bottom of the deep blue sea? Obviously, this sailor isn't thinking about the beautiful things we can see at the bottom of the deep blue sea. The deep blue sea offers wildlife. It offers wonderful treasure. You just need to look. So my treasure and my bottom of my deep blue sea was what Greta did. This is something I've used in a previous TESOL session, but I had to rethink and bring it back. I'm sorry. Greta just loved vocabulary, and she gave prices to it. She put the more expensive, the treasure of her vocabulary, to her favorite words, and said, these cost 5,000 euros. And I love these words. If you want to buy them from me, you have to pay a lot of money. And she categorized the words for different, the value she gave to the words from the last term. And my treasure, her treasure was this. She loved vocabulary, enjoyed vocabulary, used vocabulary for not just vocabulary itself, but learning about vocabulary to help us speak and to learn and to reflect and hopefully to enjoy. So we've looked at setting sail, we've looked at captains, we've full speed ahead. If we give them guidance, captain's log, noticing, changing direction, thinking of new context, casting anchors, I'm not going to cast mine, and also thinking ahead to the future. Okay, so on that note, this is something that's a little final thought. I'll finish that now, but if there are 3 minutes to spare, and if you've got any questions to ask, if you can all hear me, I'll be happy to answer. Are there any questions there?
It's gone a little bit quiet, but maybe they're just thinking.
Yeah, I've given you 2 tasks.
Let's have a look. Yeah. We have got a little bit more time, Andrea.
What time? It's 3 more minutes, yeah? What time?
We should be finishing at 11:45, but...
Oh, sorry, my goodness.
unless
Oh,
somebody
no, I
has
was
changed the
mine said
timetable.
10:30. Mine said 10:30 to 11:30.
No, it's 11:45 to 11:45, but it doesn't matter.
We started earlier then. Sorry, we started earlier then.
It's
Okay,
all
this
right. We
is
started just a couple
fantastic.
of minutes, early.
Okay, sorry, I had a different time down. Sorry about that. I had 10:30 to
Hang on. Wait a minute.
10:30 to
No. You're
11.
right. I'm on the wrong page.
But listen,
I'm sorry.
any questions? Yeah, is it okay?
My apologies. It's my fault. I was looking at another day.
Yeah, no, don't worry, no problems.
I
Okay,
should know off by heart.
Don't worry. If there are any questions, please, you can, whoops, let's have a look. Can you see my email there? And also, obviously, in the Hoover chat, I'll be happy to be a bit more active. I've heard that, Karen, that we're all being able to revisit the sessions and obviously see sessions we haven't seen, and that therefore things will still be active. So if people on the Hoover app want to get in touch with me or get in touch with me with my work address, I would be very, very happy to explain or to answer any questions to do with the talk. And I'm happy to share my slides. If I can send them to TESOL-SPAIN, I'd be happy to share them with people too.
Somebody asked that earlier on in the chat box, but you were so busy speaking. I didn't want to interrupt you at all. So that's fantastic to know that you're happy to share your slides. That's very kind of you.
Yeah, and
very
my
generous.
apologies if you didn't see my face, but I hope hopefully you could hear it clearly enough. And as usual in some of these sessions, it's easy to when I'm not actually seeing you, there's a tendency for me to speak quite quickly. So you've actually gone away with perhaps lots of food for thought or memories of things that you've done yourselves, but also activities for you to adapt. So obviously the speed, manage to speed through the session, but at the same time, please do go to it again or think a little bit more, think of their own notes you may have taken. Do they make sense? Was I clear enough? Just get in contact. I'd rather you go away with lots of things to think about and then to get back to me to clarify if necessary.
Definitely. I think that was absolutely wonderful. You were talking about the deep blue sea and finding the treasure. I think we've all taken away some treasure from this session without having to get wet, without even having to delve into the deep blue sea. But we've definitely gone to find lots of different ideas. As you know, I've been to many of your sessions. I never tire of going to your sessions, and I'm always amazed at how many new ideas we get.
The nicest thing is that as a teaching community, it's like the chicken and the egg. There were so many things that we share, but the beauty is that you go away, a lot of these things won't be new to you by any means, but at the same time you go away, you improve on it, you modify things to make them more meaningful in your own classroom. And just as I said before, my aim really was here thinking of vocabulary learning and building on vocabulary, but really also looking at those opportunities for more power, word power, to help you communicate more by speaking about vocabulary, and how learning vocabulary and speaking about learning can help communication through extra chants, through extra questions about vocabulary, and that's definitely helping them communicate more with each other in the classroom and communicating with me.
Okay. Everybody's just saying thank you. I don't know if you can see the chat, but it's just
strange thing. It hasn't refreshed. So
everybody's thanking you so much. Super session. Thanks very much. It was great. Christina Gomez is asking for a recommendation for a book, but she just says any recommended book. I don't know exactly if she means specific to vocabulary or something else.
Well, there are.
I'm not sure if that's what she means. Maybe she should get in touch with you directly.
Yes, because I can then think. I know that. Also other recommendations. I think we need to kind of sometimes with our sessions think how they link up with other sessions that we've been to at the conference. I mean, already I was thinking of spelling. There was Catherine Carpenter and Natasha Tomasi's session about spelling and reading. Everything seems to link up with, you know, Carol Reed's session and about how we focus on our children and their well-being. And, you know, there are so many links that I can make to other people's sessions. And so whatever session you go to at the TESOL conference, you know, do visit the ones that you haven't managed to see, because they do have this link together. We're all on a similar voyage, and we're all readjusting our sails and thinking, which is fantastic for us all.
Yeah, very happy to be part of your crew, Captain Andrea Littlewood.
I'm pleased to have such a wonderful crew, and we're all captains and crewmates together.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for all, and I'm sorry if you couldn't see my face, but I should.
It's not your fault. It's just yes, we all know what Andrea. In fact, your hair's longer. That's the only thing I can see.
This is kind of lockdown hair still, you know. Wow.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Andrea, and enjoy the rest of the day, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
There is another. Now. This next session starts at 11:45. I've got that right. Thank you so much, Andrea. Bye.
Thank you. Lovely to see you all. Bye-bye. Thanks, Karen, so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.